Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Arise Shine. I'm super glad that you are here, and you're going to want to hit share and like because we have a beautiful woman here with us. I don't even want to call it an interview. We're just going to have a conversation and just learn more about Laura. This is Laura Andrews, formerly Laura Plies, but she has just a beautiful story to share with us. And Arise Shine, as you all know, it's about the glory of the Lord and Him being reflected in us and seen in us. And Laura has truly been an example of the Lord shining through her and being seen in her love for people, her love for her family. All of it has just been a real testimony of arising and shining and letting the glory of the Lord be seen. So I'm excited for all of you to hear from her and we hearing from her. So please hit share and we invite you into our conversation. I am Rebecca Ballard here with Mary Gollinger and Laura Andrews, and we're just going to get right on started.
All right.
I would love, Laura, if you would just share a bit about yourself. Just, I know that it's you have a beautiful life. Many hard things to walk through, but just a little bit of who you are and what God has done in your life and your family, and then we can move into Project Joy.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much a longtime Duluthian. I grew up here, married my high school sweetheart at 20 years old, got married real young, and went on to have 5 wonderful children. And it didn't take too long to know that, like 3 years in, my husband Patrick was diagnosed with brain cancer, something we did not expect, intend, really rocked our world at first. But
I didn't realize it was 3 years.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, we had 3 kids at the time.
Oh, okay.
It was about, I don't know, 9 or 10 years into our marriage. Okay. But, we had 3 young kids and,
yes,
had to, make those appointments with, the hospitals and surgeries. And he came out of that believing that it was just a fluke, encapsulated brain tumor, and that we would never ever see or face that again. So we got through that and did all our follow-ups for 10 years. And Mary, like you said, when you hear the word cancer, it never leaves you. You always have that in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. But, we were young and he, started a business. We had kids that were growing up and getting into sports and life and all the things. And so, after 10 years, we really did kind of put it in the back burner of our minds and probably had another child in there at some point. I'm not sure of all my dates perfectly, but 2.5 years into them following up with him, he had another episode. He had just been in the cities working, had been driving 70 miles an hour down a freeway, and he made it to his hotel, but when he opened the door, he couldn't move. Couldn't, muscle plan, nothing. He just stood there in the freezing cold. And he tells the story where he just felt like he cried out in his spirit, like, God, help me, and somehow made it into the hotel, in which the first person thought he had been drinking or on drugs or something. No. And a employee there who knew him well said, no, that would not be him. And so called 911 and came to find out that the tumor had grown back in the scar tissue, and we were going to face this new battle again, with another surgery, stronger chemo, radiation, and it was, a good 2.5 years of treatments that we lived through. And I think probably by now we were up to our 5 children, and so we're dealing with, all our kids and a dad who was needing lots of different cares. His treatments had to be done in the cities. And so we would make those monthly trips down for his chemo and all the things. And,
How were your kids handling that?
I think we tried really, really hard to maintain as much normalcy as we could with our kids. Like we let them still be in their sports. We wanted them to still do the things with their friends. And we just tried to face it like this is, a hiccup in life. And sometimes God gives us bumps in the road and we're just going to handle them. Always believing in miracles and that, this was going to just be part of our story, which it is.
I have a question.
Yep.
A two-part question. First of all, how did God meet you in this suffering? You watched him go through and it affected you profoundly. And how did it affect your faith? And how did it affect your children's faith?
That was 3 questions.
That was 3
Oh,
Well, one of the stories that came out of just the second time was Patrick had built a school in Africa before before he got sick. And when we were driving home, we got a phone call from the pastor in Africa. And he said, "What's going on? We've been praying for you for the last 2 days. Something's going on."
Wow.
And so, during his seizure, during his diagnosis, these people in Africa were praying for our family. And that's not a coincidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the people, in our life that surrounded us, that were just, driving us to appointments, lifting us up in prayer, bringing meals, just all the things that you just are wrapped in love with, that I don't know if you even see it at the time, but you can look back and go,
yeah.
I don't think I could have gotten through
Yes.
this without that, those deep friendships and acts of love. And some people don't even realize what a huge act of love that is to a family going through something. And, faith-wise for me, I feel like sometimes it was those deepest times, all I could do is cry out to God. I had somebody one time say, okay, now this is the 3rd time for Pat, whatever with this cancer, you still believe in God? I'm like, it's the only thing that is going to get me through this trial. I've ebbed and flowed in my, never in my faith, but of course, I don't always feel worthy. I don't always feel like I'm on the, right path. But, and my kids I had, they all have their faith. And some of it have it deeper than others. Some of it show it more openly than others, but they all, I know that it impacted them greatly. And I know where, their belief is at. But that's their story to tell and stuff, especially as adults, I feel like. So, but yeah, just the glimpses that you get of how, the verse about, if he cares for the sparrow, how much more will he care for us and stuff. And it's been 13 years. So you sometimes take a step back and then go, oh yeah, this is what he did.
And how about his faith?
Patrick's?
Yes.
It just, he would say, if not me, who? It was never a, why am I suffering? Why am I going through this? It's I get to go through this because that maybe somebody else won't have to. And so his faith was always very, very strong and very deep, and probably jumping around because there was multiple times he was in the hospital. But the 3rd time that he went in, they hit a vein in his brain and caused him to have a stroke. So when he woke up from surgery, he I could tell, like his eyes were wild, and I remember looking at the nurse going like, he had a stroke, and they're like, no, it's probably just the swelling. He'll come out of it, and I'm like,
Oh,
I could just tell he was like looking and just fearful, like what was like the world just felt different. And so when he had that, then it was learning to walk and talk and all the things. But a friend had asked him during that time, and this will tie into our Project Joy. I'll tell you my story right away. His really dear friend came and sat with him so I could go home and be with my kids for a little bit. And he said to him, you have this diagnosis now, because it gradually went in stage 1, stage 3, and now it was stage 4 glioblastoma. And he said, and you have a stroke. What are you going to do? And he wrote on a board, I choose joy. And that was it. Like, that was nothing we ever really said to each other. We didn't go through life saying, well, I choose joy. But somehow those are the words that came out with him. And so he signed it, I signed it, and our friend Kevin signed it, and we took a photo of it. And that was what we were going to live our life with. We were going to just, we didn't know what the future held, but we were going to attempt to have joy. And with our children and with just life in general, that this is how we were going to choose to live our lives.
And what an impact, not only on your children and on others, but on your children, for them to see their parents choose joy, choose faith in spite of what was going on. You were sowing into their lives more than you could know. That place of strength and helping them. I'm sure they didn't know how to carry some of that pain in their youth, and process all of that pain, but yet for them to watch how you were approaching it gave them the security that in the spite of this, we're safe. We can walk with joy. We can, what a powerful, powerful testimony.
Yeah. And I think the more we lived it and realized like the difference, there's a difference between happiness and joy. And happiness depends on our external circumstances. It's the things like, around us that, make us happy if we're comfortable, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you can choose joy even in your darkest moments. And that I learned that grief and joy can like sit at the same table.
You mentioned that last year in one of your posts, and I hung on to that.
Yeah.
Man, did I hang on to that. You have no idea how that impacted me.
Oh.
Because it did take me to a pondering of that and processing that. And it is so true.
Yeah.
Because joy isn't an emotion.
No.
I mean, in many ways, joy is a person. And it's in us.
It's a place like that you can reside, even though things are hard. You can still, make that choice, and that's where, where we found ourselves was like, you can choose to sit in your grief, and you can choose to just camp there and be sad or be angry or be, just woe is me. And I'm not going to say there weren't days that we felt like that, for sure there were days that we felt like that, but you had, to choose to get up and to choose to worship and to choose to, to still be a part of the world around us. Like that was a choice. And that's a choice that we wanted to make, and, for our kids. And I think it helped the grieving process too. Is it like my daughter wrote, it like put wheels on our grief. It like put them into action of what we could do.
That's so good.
That we could, and that's where the project comes out of too.
Question: did you, on your own, ever have questions? Go to God with questions, because as the older you get, the more there are mysteries that you don't understand and God doesn't give you the answer for,
Right.
but you can love him and worship him
Right.
in the midst of the mysteries.
Right.
So I'm wondering, did you have questions maybe that you went to him and
Oh, I mean, I always had, I had my own why moments and how is this going to work out? And then when he chose to take him, and I'm 48 years old with 5 children, one of which has Down syndrome. Like, so my youngest son has special needs. Like, how am I going to be the mom he needs? How am I going to be the mom my other kids need? How am I going to be the daughter my parents need? I mean, all the questions, but you wake up in the morning and you just live, and you try to live the best version of yourself. And I knew that sitting in my grief would not be honoring to Pat's life, because he was just a doer and he would never want that for us or from us. And so, yeah, I mean, there are always questions, but my trust, that was where my trust had to lie. Like, the world was not gonna, take care of me. So,
And we don't always understand. We don't understand some of
right.
the directions that our life goes. But one thing we can stand in faith upon is that he is good and always good. And that though I don't understand, he reveals himself in a way that maybe I may not have known that aspect of him or that character of him had I not walked through that. Because he does show up in grace, and he does show up in mercy, and he does show up in faithfulness, even if it was through other people.
Right.
Even if it was for that quiet moment when you're alone and all of a sudden you feel a peace come over you.
Right.
He always shows up, and he's always faithful. And otherwise, I don't know that we wouldn't get through the storms if he wasn't there right in the middle of it.
Yeah. I remember one time, just, how you say he shows up. For Patrick, one time he was in his room, having his treatment, had to lie flat on his back. And he got this nurse who came in, who was probably the age of what his mother should have been. And he lost his mom at 18. So this woman was like an elderly nurse who just had this touch and compassion that when I came back in the room, he goes, I think my mom was in here. Oh. And it was this nurse, and I'm like, I loved that, because it was like he spent so many years not having that touch of his mom, and to have someone else step in the room when I wasn't even there and just be that person for him. And
see, I think those are the things we sometimes miss about God. That he was in that moment, and we don't even realize that's often how he communicates to us and speaks to us, or is faithful to us, is through people.
Using other people.
Yeah.
And the Lord gave Pat eyes to see. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
So you speak of Project Joy. Take us there. What?
So, yeah. So Patrick passed January 6th of 2012. And we wanted to do something that honored his memory. And we weren't really sure what that was going to look like, but we wanted to do something. He was very involved in lots of community-driven things, but nothing.
Very much. Because his funeral was, the community showed up.
Yeah.
So many lives were impacted by him and by all of you.
Thank you. And so we were like trying to figure out what we could do that would, just honor his memory. And someone came to us with the thought of like doing a backpack program. And it hadn't been started yet in Duluth. And so we at first worked through our local food bank, bringing this issue up and stuff, and raising money for them, and they got the backpack program up and running.
When you say we, who's we?
Some good friends of mine joined in with me. My kids do mainly for the bigger events. The actual group of us now have been together for oh gosh, a good, and we've been doing it 12 years. So a couple of them have been with me the whole time. And then we've had some newer ones. So we have like teachers who've come on our in our group that saw firsthand the issue of childhood hunger in the schools. And there's just mostly teachers actually and moms that have seen this thing. And when we first started it, I always said like I had my kids in the school system and I had no idea that this was in my own backyard. Like, you know, Pat was involved in like mission work to, you know, like Belize and India and Africa, and he did that. And at the time, I wish I could go back and say, oh, yeah, I'll go with you. But at the time, I had that mindset of like, one of the parents has to stay home with the kids because what if something happens? Like that, my trust wasn't like strong enough to go there. Now I think, oh, I wish I could have shared that. But I just, you know, in your head, you think hunger, it's like not here. It's not our neighbors. It's not the kids who go to school with my kids.
Right.
And yet it is so much so. And we now as Project Joy have kind of broken off to, you know, we fund our own things. We're no longer, they didn't need our funding up at the program anymore, so we kind of split off and did our own thing. And we've just realized so much that hunger doesn't hide. It's not a respecter of color. It is not a respecter of people. And children should not have to experience it. And I always say like everyone could find themselves on that side of the fence. If you lose a job, if you, like me, lose a spouse. I was fortunate enough that I had people that, you know, were helping us. I would drop off a meal or here and there. And I never told people. I would be like at the end of the month going, okay, we're having eggs for the next 2 weeks because I can buy those for 99 cents at the gas station and I could make things, you know, go longer. But there are truly people that they don't even have that option. You know, their cupboards are empty, their kids are hungry. And if you're hungry, you can't learn. If you're hungry, you can't play. If you're hungry, you get sick more frequently. There's just so many aspects about hunger that just gripped my heart that I just thought, you know, this is what I can put myself behind. And Pat was a food broker, so food was always like a thing, you know, for us. So yeah, I knew he would have food and children. He would have absolutely been okay with. So, yeah, and so like, you know, we get a story about the one that just has stayed with me for all these years is I had a friend who at the time was a nurse up at Hermantown, and in most people think Hermantown, oh, affluent community, and they don't have hunger problems there. And she got a call from a kindergarten teacher. He said, could you just come in my room? You know, I have a child who's sitting under the table and won't come out, and I have all these other kids I have to deal with. And so she came in the room and, you know, crawled under the table and started asking questions like the ones you think, you know, are you safe at home or whatever, asking these questions. And finally she said, are you hungry? And the tears just started coming. And I found out he hadn't eaten since the Friday before, you know, when he left school on Friday, and this is Monday, and he's just hungry. And so she had called me and said, like, what can we do? And I just made calls to like people who I knew would like support our mission. Like my girlfriend was like, I'm on it. She went and got groceries, dropped him off at the school, and being sure they went home with this little boy. And it's like stories like that. Like that's one of so many. And that's what I love about like our community of people, because they get it. They don't want to see that happen. And so we have some really wonderful community supporters and and this year we were able to do like summer backpack programs because there was none in this area, and so we're pairing up with Union Gospel Mission, and they help us with packing the food and getting them. Just they have the means to distribute, and we have the means to give. So we just it was like a beautiful partnership to be able to do that with them and kind of get back to our roots of having a backpack program also.
So what are the main events that do you have a backpack day where everybody can bring in, we pack them up, or how does that work?
In the summer we would pack Wednesday mornings at a church up in Cloquet, and so all the food, it was fun to watch because we'd pull up with the van and there'd be like volunteers and they would be unloading all this food to make over 400 backpacks a week for kids.
Wow.
And so we had like youth groups coming up from like Missouri and Wisconsin. Like they were using this as like a mission for them to come in and do some work. So we had like many hands make light work, and especially with the youth that could carry all the boxes. And so there's those kind of events that we do share about on our Facebook page when those happen. And then we just had our big fundraising event in November, and we raised almost, I think we're hitting close to 30,000 by the time we all is said and done. And then in the spring, the curling club actually does a very big event and raises money for Project Joy too. And last year they raised over $100,000 in a weekend for us. And so all that money goes right back into the community. And like none of us who are on the committee, we don't take any salaries. We, just we have no overhead offices. We just kind of all work out of our own homes and get things done. So,
and where do these get distributed, and how do you know where the need is?
So we have reached out to basically like all the schools and social workers in the school systems because kids is our primary focus for
Right.
food. And so they've, applied for grants if they need grants. We've seen about 3 or 4 food pantries pop up this year, which I really love because then the kids can kind of go shop for themselves after school if they need something in their home and the food is available right there. They're not even having to wait till like a Friday. And I think the stigma of that being there has helped kids to, it's natural. It's here right at the school, and you're not. And from what I've been told from the teachers that have started these is that the kids around it are really getting more aware of the needs of their friends. And so they can ask on behalf of a friend if they're not quite ready. And that, I just love that. I love when kids are sensitive to the needs of other kids, and if they can start early,
Absolutely.
just to learn that life isn't all about them, and they can see the needs of the others. We've had kids do, lemonade stands and send us an envelope of dollars and quarters and pennies, and this is for Project Joy, and those kind of things. I absolutely love when kids get involved at a young age and stuff like that.
So that I've been thinking about, how have your children gotten involved? How is that? It started out with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell us how your children got involved.
It's been very cool because my oldest son has had really wonderful opportunities in his life. He's been to the Olympics a couple of times.
That we watched.
And and so he's been a really great ambassador for what we do here, too, and has been able to share his story like on national TV, which is amazing.
It was beautiful.
I think this far in now, all my kids are very much, if we need help doing things, they're always at the events and and very supportive of it as well. My youngest son, Jonah, he's like, one time, this was when he was a little bit younger, so I haven't had this happen, but I got a letter back in the mail and I was like, well, what is this? And it was for lack of postage, thankfully, because he had gone into my checkbook when I was taking a nap and wrote like a $6,000 check to the for food for Project Joy. Like it was like, but it was his heart. Like he was like, I'm gonna do this. So yeah, he's always, got big plans for when he wins the lottery, he's gonna donate it all to Project Joy. So it's very sweet. But yeah, and now my grandkids too. They're seeing, they're all getting into school, and so they all know what it is as well, and stuff, and just to be able to share that with them too about, the importance of just, seeing people and like knowing when the kids need things and stuff like that and just being aware. So
that's, it really has impacted the community. How far do you extend? I mean, what's the...
We were just talking about that. I wanted to do like a map to just say where our footprint has actually been and touched, because we've touched all the way up the shore in the beginning. Then when the program was going on, we're all the way up to Moose Lake, and then this summer we were able to raise a bunch of money for the backpack program on the range. So we've really hit a huge footprint.
Yes.
And stuff, and
are you across into Superior?
Into Superior too? Mm-hmm. Yep. And so it's really cool just to see where it's all gone, and then see other agencies even step up and be like matching things, and
that was my next question.
Yeah, and doing stuff in their community, which is amazing,
Because you can't do what you're doing and not have it impact other people or foster ideas or other ways other people want to say, you know what, I want to support that and I'll do this too, kind of thing. Right. So you're not just impacting those regions. It goes even beyond that because of how many people's lives you've affected and stirred up and empowered and encouraged others to get involved even in different ways.
Yeah, and I think when we first started, I wrote a thing one time about, it's like we all have a passion within us. We all have some thing that we can give to and towards. And so like for mine being childhood hunger, it might be different for someone else, but find what it is and do it and give. It might not be to Project Joy, it might be to the Alzheimer's Association or to Safe Haven or to something, but make it be a passion and be able to give from your heart with a passion. And if everyone tapped into what that was, all these programs would be like successfully running and be fulfilled because we'd all be giving, and maybe some people just need to figure out what there's, what is mine, and it might take a while, but highly recommend it. I think it's just, that has
would you say that
so much?
And I love the word fulfill. And would you say that when we do see beyond ourselves or what's impacting me, when we step into what can I do to help somebody else, it always brings us up higher.
Right.
Would you say that?
Oh yeah. I mean, just anytime you're doing any kind of work, I know the word joy will come back to me because it does. It brings me joy when I, can be volunteering and doing something that's, helping others. And for me, what I've seen even in this telling the story of Project Joy or raising the money, I always have people who've come back and who've donated to us who say, I was that kid. I was the kid who was hungry.
Yes. Yeah.
And it gets to me because it's like, that was my story. And now I'm successful. And I believe that these kids who are getting any other help, they're going to grow up and they're going to give back and they're going to be
Absolutely.
successful because someone took the time to make sure their physical needs were met.
Yeah.
I had a friend one time tell me that, like she found herself as a single mom and she would just pray every weekend her kids got invited to a sleepover because she knew they'd be fed.
Oh.
And that was her way of making sure they were taken care of. It wasn't, I'm a single mom and I want my weekend to myself. It's like, I'm a single mom and I'm spent. And this way my kids are taken care of. And, that's probably a story for a lot of people, and I always say, people be like, oh, we're the parents. Well, some of them are working 2 and 3 and 4 jobs trying to keep a roof over their heads
Yeah.
and the lights turned on, and then the money doesn't go far enough to buy the bag of groceries. And they know their kids will get food in school. They're getting breakfast and lunch in school, but that's maybe where it ends. They might not have that food in the home, and and thankfully there are some programs in our community that do offer the warm meal and a safe place to go, but not everybody can get there. So I think it's about looking out for your neighbor too.
We need to be so much more aware of our ways in which we can be influencing and ways that we can be extending love and helping hand. That's truly what it is, being Jesus' hands and feet and voice of love and truth. And we need to be that, particularly as the church. But if, like you said, if we all had that mindset of how can I love beyond myself, wow, it would look different.
Right.
But you have been an influencer and you have been sowing seeds and you have been changing lives, you, your family, and the community that you're working with. So we say thank you. Thank you. And I just love that you shared that about someone coming to you and saying, I was that kid. Because I was going to say, is there anybody that's even working with you right now that was one of those kids?
Well, yeah, actually one of the ladies on our committee has those same stories that she remembers. Being the kid that, couldn't buy a hot lunch because, the thing was, her account was empty. And she just works diligently for us and it's wonderful. But yeah, I've had people through the food services industry because my son Chris took over his dad's business, so we still have connections with some of the food industries. And there was one gentleman that would always donate at this time of year anonymously, so I don't even know who it was, but with the story behind it that was his story. And he was the hungry kid, and he wants to make sure that he gives back every year and stuff.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Those are what fills your heart.
Right.
Those stories. And
Right.
that's the hardest you've been sowing. Well, before we move into just kind of what's happening in your life now and your photographer and other things, how can people donate or help, or basically I'm asking you for your website?
Yeah.
We'll put it on the comment section.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the comment section as well, but if you could just let us know what your website is or your Facebook page is, and just maybe ways and needs you might have right now.
Yeah, we have our projectjoynorthland.com is our website. And at the bottom of it has all the ways that you can donate.
Yes.
So we have PayPal and our treasurer's office address. We also have just our Facebook page is just under Project Joy. And that's pretty much, we follow both of those if you want to look at opportunities. We don't have any events coming up. We are helping out with the Union Gospel Mission Christmas party though. They do a party for the families to come and pick toys and because we're food related, we're just getting that little word out that if people want to donate toys, they can. I get to work with the children and make crafts with them while their
Oh,
parents go shopping, so I'm super excited about that.
that's fun.
But yeah, I just think there's lots of opportunities out in the community too. So
And you know, I can imagine just the smile on a kid's face brings great joy.
so much.
Knowing that you helped that little one.
We had a teacher that had the kids who received some of the food that we donated, and they had them write notes. And the one that, like some of them was like, whoever gave me this food, I love you. Or my dad is so much happier because he's not stressed. Or, things like this, like just these little notes in a little kid's handwriting that you're just like, yep, this is all makes it all worthwhile.
There's something about the word joy too. I have it all over my house, everywhere, and not just at Christmas.
Right?
I have just little places where I have that word joy, just as a reminder that I can choose joy.
Yeah.
And it often comes to that, choosing joy.
It does.
So tell me a little bit about what's happening now in your life, and you've been a photographer, which
Yeah,
I've seen some of your stuff on Facebook. It's beautiful.
I it started out of necessity. I kind of shared that.
Yeah, share a little bit about
yeah.
that, because I loved, and then share about the wood in the woods.
Oh,
I love that.
Yeah, well, during the second bout with his cancer, he bought a used camera from a friend and gifted me that on Christmas. And I started having like therapy walks during the day when he was having treatments or whatever, and just needing to go out and find beauty somewhere. Like, when life feels really, really hard, I just like, if you can just go out, you're gonna find beauty somewhere. And so that's what it started as. After he passed and I found myself as, a single mom raising 5 kids still, like I need to do something. And I was basically a single mom my whole life. So
Was your oldest still home?
no, he was not.
Okay.
Yeah. My daughter she had come home to help me during that time of his passing, but
Okay.
yeah, but it was still, I had 3 boys that were still in
Mhm.
high school, elementary, and middle school. So, and so I started doing photography as a way to just supplement my income and I loved it. I loved meeting the families. I loved, that every day was different and even if your kid was not happy about pictures standing on my head, like I loved trying to capture something.
And I have to say, from the pictures I had seen, your heart is evident in every picture. It's like what you're capturing it's communicating your heart. I love that about your pictures. It's just more than a picture.
Oh, that means a lot. Yeah, and so the joy, like the trees that I used to do.
That's what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
You look at a tree, and I remember one of the pictures that you had of the trees, and you had ornaments on them, and I just like, if I was that person walking through the woods, I would just be like, whatever was going on that might have been making me sad, I wouldn't be sad anymore, because I felt like, some angels had shown up in the woods and decorated.
I know. Well,
and it was you.
I know how it started is I was having a sad day, and it was like a really gray, gloomy winter day. And I thought, I gotta get back to my roots of like going on a therapy walk and finding beauty somewhere. And Pat loved the color red, and so I think I just grabbed some red Christmas balls with this thought, like, I'm gonna just, in this gray, black and white picture we're in right now, I'm gonna go decorate a little tree in the woods and take a photo of it. And like, maybe it'll bring somebody some joy.
It did.
And once it was decorated, I thought, I can just leave this here and see if anybody, notices. And I kind of started with doing like little scavenger hunt clues of where maybe I was in the woods. And For the first few years, it was like my 12 trees of Christmas. I started doing them like,
Oh, gosh. how fun.
and people started doing them. And then people would send me pictures. Is this one of your trees? And I'm like, no, but it's beautiful. And it was like, now other people are getting the enjoyment out of this. And so I feel like, no. And the other day I was driving through Jay Cook and I saw this little tree and I made my husband turn around and I'm like, I have to go take a photo. And someone had just decorated this perfect little tree with red balls right there. And it did. It brought me so much joy. And I thought, oh, I finally found a tree. Like instead of decorating them.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of my little winter thing. And one year when I couldn't do it, I had a gal that I knew that she took over and she was even making clues and she's like, let me do this for you. And she did all the trees. When I wasn't able to do them, it was the year my mom was diagnosed with cancer and I just didn't have it in me. And so she took it up and she did the trees and decorated them and stuff like that. So
And I just, the different ideas that come out of who we are, I love that, I'm gonna choose joy and there's this, what I'm gonna do, the therapy walk, the photography, all the different things. But again, what we don't realize, what might touch someone's life, walking through the woods and somebody seeing that, it may have been a great day for them and then they saw what you had done and it brought them joy. I love all of the different ways when we listen to the prompting of the Holy Spirit, which I truly believe it is prompting you to do those things. Wow, the lives that were touched. You have no idea how many people were walking through the woods that gave hope to. Because that's what it speaks to.
yeah.
You're in a snow and woods and all the leaves are off and in here is this bright color in the middle of
In
it.
the middle, yeah.
That's hope.
Yeah.
That's what hope brings. It brings color
Yeah.
to what otherwise seems so lifeless and hopeless. It brings hope, color to our lives.
I have a last question, at least
Yes.
for me. Your life, you're hearing your story and everything, the ebb and flow and everything you've been through, and you haven't even revealed a lot of it. That really touches me. I'm sure it's touched a lot of people that are watching. Have you ever thought of writing a book?
That was a question I asked earlier, but we kept going.
Oh, I always wanted to write a book. Like that was always like, I would love to write a book. I think sometimes I just I read others and go, oh, they're so good. I don't think I have what it takes to write a book. And then that could just be the enemy just speaking stuff to me, I know. But it's one of those things where, I've thought of it. I would love to someday. I don't know if I ever will.
If you've thought about it and you would like to do it, and I have been sitting here thinking about it, if I were you, I would talk to the Father about it, because he would make you able to write the book. Your story is not just for you. Your story is for others. It's just part of Project Joy, of giving, pouring yourself out into other people.
Sometimes it would even be maybe you express yourself beautifully. And so I don't even doubt for a minute that it would flow with beauty and hope and just a story, a testimony. And I think that's one of the things that we have to remember in our lives, that sometimes our testimonies is what propels another to hang on there or to walk further, persevere, because of, testimony means do it again, so God will do it again and again in people's lives as we share our testimonies. And so there may be a day that you'll say, today's the day, and you'll sit down and just write. Or record it. Right. Just start talking, and then you'll be able to take the recording and type it. You might be surprised.
That could be.
But no pressure. It just is.
Yeah.
What you've shared, even the bit that you've shared, has just been, I know for all of us, has been, one, thank you for your vulnerability and your willingness to share, because it does give hope, and it does strengthen our faith to see what you journeyed through and what you chose to hang on to. So I love that. And I love the photography. So gotta ask.
Oh.
I love how, you're married.
I'm married.
I love
Yes.
that. So tell us
Yeah.
if you're okay with it.
Yes. My husband's twin sister, Paula, kept saying, you guys should talk. He lost his wife coming on 4 years ago. It's been 13 almost with that. And neither of us were like, we're never going to get married again. No, we're done. I always joked, I said, I'm just going to buy a dog. I'm going to buy a dog, and that dog is going to be loyal and faithful, and my end of my years, I'm going to have a dog. And she just kept encouraging us. She's like, he just wants a friend. He just needs someone to, just to have in his life too, because he's just was very sad when he lost his wife. They were together for 42 years. And a beautiful, beautiful story. And so we met and we just chatted, and we both said, like, weird, I just only want a friend, whatever, perfect. We're on the same page. And the more we started hanging out, he'd chase the waves with me, he'd do all these crazy things that I'd want to do that day. He'd be like, I'll pick you up. I'll take you. What do you want to do? We'd watch the surfers up the shore, and we'd go chasing the waves when Lake Superior was crazy, and we'd just go on long walks, and we just, I realized that I have found a best friend, and it was just such a treasure to me. And all of a sudden I was like, well, if he's starting to be this comfortable with me, he might want to start dating someone else, and we're buddies. And so I had to be the one that said, so, you think you're gonna ever start dating? It's like, I'm really bad at this. And he professed, it's like, I really like you. So we decided to just make it go a bit. And last November he proposed, and this July we got married on the shores of Lake Superior. And he's wonderful. And my kids adore him, and he's very, very, just a great, my grandkids call him Gigi. And yeah, it's a gift this late in life, because I did not look for it, and that's probably the best thing, that I didn't look for it, because God was able to just bring it full circle to both of us. Neither of us were looking, and just to have that companionship and truly like a best friend, and it's beautiful. And,
what a treasure.
Yeah.
I can imagine Father just looking down at the two of you going,
yeah.
they have no idea.
I know. I remember getting it struck the first time in the bed, and sitting there, I'm like, okay. So, but yeah, he's a really good man. Hard worker, kind, just, I'd never had anyone I need this moved. I'll come down and help you. I hated asking for help as a single person. That was super hard for me. And I always felt like I had to just figure it out. And in the beginning, my daddy was like my hero. He would always help me with anything. And then after his stroke, and he was unable to, it was just really, really hard to just ask for help. Even though I know people would have probably said yes, I just never really liked asking. And having someone who was just willing, oh, I can help you do that. Oh, I can check that out for you. And it was just such a gift to just have someone that you could trust, and it's very easy to get married to. So,
A beautiful story. So, if you're watching it all, way to go.
I
think that's true. Is like, you know, and
Tell him he's a winner.
I've had other people say like, how do I find that? And I say, don't look, let it find you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when you know it's going to be real.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's beautiful. And what is your family doing now? What are they up to?
Oh my goodness. My son is still making his Olympic dreams hopeful. They're still working really hard at it.
Same team.
Same team.
It was fun watching them.
Yeah.
I didn't know I would become a curling fan, but I was in the Olympics.
I know. And then, and that's what really touches me is to watch my kids chase their dreams. You know what I mean? Like for what I went through, they went through it too.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to just go on and like work hard towards something that they love and are passionate about. I love watching that. My daughter got married and has 5 amazing grandkids and beautiful, busy kids, and she's busy and doing amazing things. And my other son has just bought his first chunk of land, and he's super excited about, building his dreams up there up on the North Shore.
Oh.
And my other son is expecting a baby, and
Oh.
my youngest is living independently for the first time. He loves his house and his room. His roommates are like brothers, and that has been just an amazing gift in itself because I just believe I would always have him with me, and I would have been totally fine with that. He's an awesome kid, and I just figured that he would always just be my sidekick. And having him live in and love what he does, and he works at Planet Fitness, and he's still with the basketball team at UMD, and just doing his own thing. It's just fun to see, and it's kind of fun to be an empty nester. I never thought I'd be one, so that's
just another season of your life.
Yeah. Just take them all one day at a time, but just grateful for every day.
So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What would you say to those watching as far as journeying through the mountains and valleys and the part that our Father God plays in all of that? What would you want them to glean from you?
I would say that you can trust him. And on the days that you're angry, he can take it. And there's days that you just want to yell and scream and cry, and it comes as no surprise to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he punishes us for being mad at him some days.
No.
But never lose sight of who he is. Because I don't think we get through this world without him. So.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. This was just beautiful.
This was a lot easier than I expected. So nervous.
Well, I just appreciate your willingness to share and your vulnerability. And like I told you earlier, you've impacted so many lives.
Mm-hmm.
You are truly salt and light. You're a rise, shine. The glory of the Lord is seen upon you. You reflect Jesus beautifully, you and your family. And I thank you for Project Joy. I thank you for all of the countless lives that you have changed and will continue to. So thank you. Thank you for your yes to the Father, in spite of all that you've walked through and journeyed through. And so it's just been an honor to have you and a blessing, and it has increased my faith and hope for sure.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, and thank you for the trees in the woods. I just love that. And go, if you don't mind, can people go to your Facebook page, your personal Facebook page, and just see the beautiful pictures, the photography that you do.
Oh, thank you.
And if someone wants to hire you, how would they reach you?
It's through Laura's Lens Photography, and it's on Facebook. So,
Okay.
and a website. I think it's through Laura's Lens Photography.
What do you mostly do?
Probably more families and grads now. I do have 3 weddings next year, but I've kind of capped it at that because we have a cabin now,
Yes.
and I want to enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I'm kind of slowly eking out of it a little bit, but I still do it. I'll still hold on to it for a little while.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining us. Lord, I just pray a blessing over Laura and her husband and family, Lord. We just thank you for their lives. We thank you for all of their yeses, Lord God, to you, and how you've been able to fill them and flow through them and bless others and provide others, Lord God, through them. And I thank you for them. I pray for continued provision and continued health and wholeness. I thank you for continued strategies and ideas. And I thank you for the favor and the blessing and the peace and the joy that you are saturating them in and bestowing upon them, Father. And I pray that for all of our viewers, Lord God, just a blessing of hope and a blessing of faith to rise up within each one of them. And I thank you, Lord, that you are a God who provides and you are a God who loves deeply. And we thank you that we get to be the beneficiaries of your love. In Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you. Have a good week.